Hello and welcome if you're new to my channel, and if you're a subscriber, a warm welcome back. I experience a lot of luxury, often if not on a daily basis, whether it's looking at products, trying a service, or going into top hotels. So I've almost become immune to that whole wow factor most people experience when they see something amazing for the first time. And it takes a lot for me to be bowled over by something. But rewind a couple of months ago, and I was in Cape Town, South Africa, and I had a one-day stopgap between two major parts of my trip. And I thought, why not try the silo? Because I had seen a lot on social media, read the print media that was flying around, and coupled with the fact that it was literally a 2 to 3 minute walk away from the Robben Island ferry, I thought, I can't find a better hotel. The manager showed me to the room, and when he opened the room and I walked through, I was literally stunned into silence. And I stood for a good minute just taking in how spectacular the room was. You're immediately met by tall floor-to-ceiling, multifaceted windows that literally glisten like diamonds. They let in floods of light into the room. And then ahead of you is the most breathtaking view of the Victorian Alfred Waterfront, the harbour, and then Table Mountain. The room itself is made up of 5 rooms, all with tall ceilings and very good sizes. The main room you walk into is the living space. You have the living room on the left and you have the dining space on the right. And then there are 2 bedrooms, both en suite, and they come off both the living room spaces. And I immediately regretted not staying at the silo for longer, because to me, the silo is all about their rooms. They are absolutely stunning. And when you stay at the silo, you need to take time to just stay in your room and enjoy the beauty. And there's so much that comes with your room. I'm Anesu Sagonda, and I produce educational luxury content for anyone after the finer things. Whether you're young and starting out in life and wanting to reap the benefits of buying quality from the get-go, or you're into luxury but you want to focus more on quality, under-the-radar brands, or you're new to money and wanting to learn how to navigate the terrain, then my content is very much geared towards you. The Silo Hotel is part of the Royal Portfolio, which is privately owned by Liz and Phil Biden. And Liz is very much the front runner of the portfolio. She is behind the incredible interiors in all of their properties. They also own, in addition to the Silo Hotel, Birkenhead in Hermanus, La Residence in Franschhoek. La Residence is a wine farm, and it's part of a group of about 15, 20 wine farms that are at the very top end of the market in terms of the wine, the accommodation, the food, the facilities they have on offer. And then they have Royal Malawani in Kruger, and then 4 other private residences in Cape Town, all located between Bantry Bay and Clifton. And as I've mentioned in my introductory video, Bantry Bay and Clifton are some of the most affluent parts of not only Cape Town, but South Africa. They have properties that sell for 10, 20, 30 million dollars, and they compete like for like with comparable properties in the West, whether it's, for example, in the United States, you have in Los Angeles, Holmby Hills, Beverly Hills, Malibu, you have in New York, Tribeca, NoHo, you have Hudson's Yards, you have in London, the Platinum Triangle. They confidently hold their own when it comes to the aesthetic, the build quality, and of course the interiors. I'm going to include the links for those 4 residences in the description box down below. Please do take a look, because I'll talk about residences later on during the course of the year, or possibly next year. And then coming back to the Silo Hotel, the Silo is located on the Victoria and Alfred waterfront. The waterfront is South Africa's most visited destination. When things are normal, the waterfront can get up to 100,000 visitors a day. And the hotel is specifically on top of the Zeitz Mocaa Museum. The Zeitz Mocaa is the Museum of Contemporary African Art, and it's the world's largest museum dedicated just to contemporary African art. And it's on what was the old site of the grain storage silos. They've maintained the columns as part of the architectural look and feel of the museum. And then the section above, what was the elevator section, is where the Silo Hotel is now located, and it occupies 6 floors. You come into the ground floor, which is the 6th floor of the Silo Hotel, and you have the reception area as well as their 2 eateries, the Granary Cafe and the Wollaston Bar. Mezzanine floor, slightly above, you have a guests only seating space, the library, and there's also a private dining facility. Also within the hotel, there's a spa and there's a gym. And then going up towards the top, the 11th floor, they have a swimming pool with glass walls all the way around. And then they also have seating space, as you can imagine, with awesome views of Cape Town. And then the very top is a roof terrace with literally 360 degrees of unhindered views of Cape Town in all its glory. Imagine being able to participate or even see a firework display from up there. And then coming down to the 9th floor where my room was. My room was incredibly glamorous. Tall ceilings, the breathtaking views, and of course the exquisite interiors and artwork. Liz has spared absolutely no expense when it comes to the interiors at the Silo. All the rooms are individually decorated, and the only common theme is that all the bathrooms are black and white. And I remember when I first walked into my room thinking how incredibly English it was in terms of the style of interiors. It was reminiscent of a recent staycation I had at Hotel Number 16, which is part of the Ferndale group of hotels owned by Kit and Tim Kemp. Kit is the designer of the entire portfolio of properties within the group. And she's very much into your English style of interiors. So that's using a lot of color, mixing, matching, clashing the colors, prints, patterns, even fabrics, using antique inspired cabinetry. And she's legendary for her big ornate fabric headboards. And you see that same theme at the Silo. And the Silo also has an arresting collection of art exhibited throughout the Silo. They've maintained the theme of contemporary African art from the Zeitz Mocaa. And Liz also works with an African artist, gives them a period to exhibit their artwork in the hotel for a period of time. And then at the end of their residency, she buys a piece of artwork from their collection and then adds it to her own personal collection. You can literally play, sleep, eat, and even work in the room. The living spaces to your left, you have the seating space. You can sit down, have a conversation, watch TV, read, have meetings. It's an incredibly glamorous backdrop for a Zoom meeting. There's also a very well-stocked mini bar. 90% of it is free. The only chargeable beverage is the fine wine from La Residence. Have wine, nibbles, champagne in the seating area, or you can have it out on the balcony. You can even have all your meals out on the balcony. And then you have to your right the seating space. You can have all your meals served at the table. And a hotel at that level, I would expect them to be able to get you a private chef, or even have the executive chef prepare meals for you to dine privately or with friends to entertain. Or companies can come in for events, launch products, or intimate PR events, even shoots. It's a place where you can work. It's a place that can be used socially. It is an absolutely stunning room that is multifaceted, not just in the windows, but the use as well. Moving out to the bedrooms, you go to sleep, you wake up to the beautiful views. The first bedroom had 2 double beds. The second bedroom had 1 king-size bed. All 3 beds were impeccably dressed in percale linen, cool, crisp, soft linen, perfect for Cape Town temperatures. Both rooms also had a desk and a TV. And it just seemed so strange, so bizarre to me to even consider turning on the TV when I had such spectacular views to take up any spare moment I had. Both rooms also had full ensuite facilities. Just as glamorous and glitzy as the living spaces. You could just sit in the bathroom and relax, read a book, unwind, have a glass of champagne, entertain, host a mani-pedi party, or just enjoy an incredibly decadent bath in a deep bathtub with spectacular views ahead of you. Or companies can use the bathroom as a breakout room, or even just a room where guests mingle, drinking champagne, eating canapes, and it just doesn't seem or feel or look strange being in the bathroom. But two things really stood out about the bathroom. The first was both bathrooms had a trolley with bubble bath, bath salts and so forth in beautiful ornate jars and tubs. I really liked that touch. And then the second was the toiletries. What I had noticed or have noticed is that a lot of the establishments at the top end in South Africa typically use the same brands when it comes to toiletries, but at the silo they use Penhaligons. And when I first went around the hotel and I noticed Penhaligons, that to me just sealed the deal. It confirmed why I loved the silo. And I specifically love Penhaligons. I have recommended Penhaligons in the past. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you will know I love two things. Firstly, brands focused on one product because they typically do it very well. The second is royal warranted brands. Penhaligons have not one but two royal warrants. And royal warrants essentially vouch for a brand's quality and consistency. And that to me was just such a major tick, because the Silo Hotel, for all the glamour and glitz of the hotel, the glamour and glitz is not overwhelming or intimidating. It's done in a very considered, well thought out manner. They've paid a lot of attention to the details. And the fact that they could have used any brand for their toiletries, but they went for Penhaligons specifically, a brand under the radar, focuses just on quality, no fanfare, no hype. It just spoke into that whole understated glamour you get from the silo. They've gone for a brand that's very much old money, it's established, it's quality, it's under the radar. They don't need a brand that screams. The hotel screams quality without trying. It's a quality establishment. It's a hotel that literally can do no wrong in my eyes. As I mentioned earlier, I specifically chose the Silo Hotel because I wanted somewhere that was very easy to get to the Robben Island ferry. It's ideally located for a number of tourist attractions and activities that I would highly recommend. They are the fabric, the core of what Cape Town is, and experiencing them helps you better understand the city and also a little bit of South Africa's history. The first, the most obvious, is the Zeitz Mocaa Museum, where the hotel is located on top of. You will find in South Africa that a lot of the top hotels will give you free tickets to the Zeitz Mocaa. Do utilize those tickets. It's a phenomenal museum. As I mentioned, it's on the old site of the grain storage silos. They've maintained the original columns of the silo. They're part of the architecture of the museum. It's made up of 6 floors, and on each floor they have a number of artists exhibiting their work. The museum is not just focused on exhibiting contemporary African art, but it's also focused on collecting, on preserving, and also researching contemporary African art. They're very much about nurturing and showcasing the brilliant, some of the most creative artists on the continent. And they also make the art incredibly accessible to not only the locals, but also African citizens. So for example, the last Friday of every month, half-price tickets from 4 till 9 p.m. and every Wednesday from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. free entry for all African citizens. The second activity, or rather location, the most obvious, is the Victoria and Alfred Waterfront that I mentioned earlier as the most visited destination in all of South Africa. It's a place where you can literally play, you can dine, you can shop, you can live, you can work. If you go there to dine, which most people do at some point, it's not so much your fine dining restaurants you'll find there. It's very much your quick turnover restaurants. There's a lot of footfall, and the restaurants are primarily focused on just getting people in and out, as people are there to do a number of other activities. Your fine dining establishments in Cape Town are more in the center of the city or the Cape Winelands, and I'll talk about that, or those restaurants, those places, in later videos. What you have in terms of shopping, you have a cross selection of stores, from your mass market stores all the way up to your top global designer brands that have presence in South Africa. For example, Louis Vuitton, you have Burberry, you have Gucci, you have Prada, for example, all with stores on the Victoria and Alfred Waterfront. And of course, Merchants of Long, that I mentioned in my handbag video, that's focused on your top end African brands. The other tourist attraction that's within the locale is Table Mountain. Visiting Table Mountain, you can either organize an excursion on your own or get a tour guide. I recommend a tour guide, particularly somebody who is very well versed, who has detailed knowledge of Cape Town or South Africa, because it makes for a really good experience. It's something I personally like. I like tour guides who really know a lot of stuff, because I already go to places knowing quite a bit, and I just want somebody who's going to bump me up. The tour guide will be able to talk you through all the spectacular views you will see from the top of Table Mountain. For example, Lion's Head, Signal Hill. You'll also see Robben Island. You'll see the sports stadium where they had the Football World Cup games. You'll also see the harbour, and of course Table Bay, and they'll be able to point out all the different landmarks in the city. And then of course Devil's Peak. What I will do is post in my description box details of tour guides as and when I come across tour guides who have a really detailed knowledge and understanding of the region, as opposed to tour guides who just take you around more so as a chauffeur service, which is fine if that's something that you would like. I will also add that in a later video when I talk about Cape Winelands. The final tourist attraction, of course, is Robben Island, that I was based at the Silo for. The ferry is literally a 3-minute walk away from the Silo Hotel. I first went to Robben Island about 15 years ago, and they have changed, totally revamped the tour. You're getting a lot better value for your money, a more detailed tour. What happens is, once you get off the ferry at Robben Island, you're split onto different buses. Half the buses take you around the grounds of the prison, and they talk you through the history and areas of historical significance. And then the other buses go directly to the prison, and you're taken around by former inmates who talk you through the prison, the conditions, the clothing, the food, the diet, everything that they experienced during their time when Robben Island was in operation. I was lucky enough to have had a tour guide who was actually at Robben Island, same time as Nelson Mandela, but towards the end of his sentence. And he was able to regale us with stories of his interactions with Mandela. And you also get to see, of course, Nelson Mandela's prison. The Silo Hotel is a phenomenal hotel. You could place it anywhere in the world, whether it's in Monaco, you could put it in Zurich, in Los Angeles, in New York. It would very confidently hold its own amongst its peers. It's a bucket list worthy hotel that needs to be experienced for the glamour, the glitz, the location, the views, and of course, the service. Any questions, let me know as always in the comments down below. But thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.